Yes, 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 yes. Once again, grown-ups in between children and babies. Right about now, it's your boy. Oh my God, Graham, 1/3 of the Public Enemies podcast, and I am here with Xavier Stiles, writer.
What is up? What's up? What's
How,
up?
how are you, my brother?
Man, I'm feeling really grateful right now. I mean, the short film right now is on streaming on Disney Plus, Black Belts. It's been wow, like 3 years in the making, it feels like, from the start of like idea to production into finally seeing it on screen. So it's definitely feeling great.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I checked out your IMDb and I was like, okay, he's done some work on Hemlock Grove, you know what I'm saying? The Wonderland series, the Kids' Choice Awards and all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, get your Nickelodeon slime swag on. I see you, dog. I see you, dog. Really out here moving and shaking, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, today we are actually here to talk about Black Belts. It's a short film on Disney Plus. They've got a Launchpad short film series collection that they've got on there. And this is one of the projects that was included. And as you said, 3 years in the making. How does it feel?
No, it feels incredible. I mean, like you listed all some of this stuff, but I've been in LA trying to make the dream work for a long time. I was born in LA. A lot of my family is mainly Compton. That's what Black Belts is based off of. A lot of family in Gardena, Carson, those type of areas. So, but grew up in St. Louis, so it's definitely been a long journey to kind of get here. But I remember, I went to college, Arizona State, studied film and TV, and I knew that's kind of like what I wanted to do in high school with theater. So, it took a little close to a decade to finally start seeing some stuff. Come to screen, but
Wow.
I started seeing my name in the titles a few times in my 20s as a producer, and just it's nice because I love narrative. Narrative is like everything to me, man. Telling stories about people who look like
Mhm.
us, telling stories that I haven't really seen that tackle what I'm used to, what I come from. My dad was LAPD, but I had some cousins who was affiliated. The juxtaposition between
So
that, saying being a writer and being in writers' rooms, and then at the same time, my side hustle was being a bouncer and working, the front door in Hollywood and being on executive security, a couple of celebrity details, and kind of playing with what that means as being a black man and like masculinity. And I sometimes they call it code switching, but for us, I feel like it's really more of like a body switch, almost like your entire body
yeah,
language has to change physically, depending
everything.
on where you at. So I think a lot of the stuff I tackle is usually around in that arena. So it's great to actually put a lot of like, my story growing up, where I'm from, people like what I want to write, like, and see it like on such a huge platform as, Disney. Really big shout out to Launchpad and just the team and everything.
That is amazing. Now, at first glance, the summary plot for Black Belts, Disney describes it. In order to prove himself to his ex-fighter dad, KJ demands respect at an underground Compton dojo. How would you describe Black Belts?
By the way, you nailed that, man. You need to do those
I
those trailers,
should
those
do the voiceovers.
yeah, absolutely. I was like, no, 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 that sound about right. That sound fire. Yeah, like let it run.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, let's go.
yeah, I like that. That's
Okay, one
cool.
time.
Um, but yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
that's
how
fairly
would you
accurate.
describe it? Yeah,
I would
okay.
describe it like that. It's really a coming of age story about
Mhm.
a son who is spending time with his father, and his parents aren't together, and he's kind of been shipped out there because he's getting
Mhm.
into a little bit of stuff that maybe moms isn't necessarily able to communicate with him, just about just bullies and how to fight and protect yourself. And I mean, I come from single mom like household, so I know that they can definitely throw hands up like that. But like, I think for me it was about like, what is it like if I just talking to dads, it's like idealism of what I would have preferred, talking to my own father. And now I'm a young dad as well, just what that back and forth is like. And KJ doesn't know how to necessarily, he's getting a little too wild for mom, so he goes out to Compton and stay with his dad, and finds out that dad was ex-fighter cutting up and wants him to train him, and he just can't get his dad to train him, so he just keeps acting up until we eventually, he gets into some shenanigans.
Yeah, he definitely does get into some shenanigans, and I kind of gathered that that mom and pop weren't together. it kind of like, to me, it was like I'm like, okay, is this a like a go spend summer with your dad type of thing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yo,
not
we all
necessarily
know
like,
that, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. So I'm already knowing. Like I come from a a single parent household as well. You know what I mean? Like those every other weekends or supervised visits. You know what I'm saying, with dad,
yo,
and so I know how that can be. You know what I mean? Especially when you're young and growing up and kind of like just dealing with the everyday struggle and challenges of like being a teenager. You know what I mean? Like
definitely.
you might not able excuse me, you might not necessarily be able to communicate that all the way, but like you just know, like you feeling something. You know what I mean? So I kind of gathered like, okay, this is a go, maybe dad can straighten you out, or maybe dad can talk to
Yeah.
you. I want to ask you about because we got that out of the way about moms and pops not being together. That was actually in my notes, something that I really wanted to ask you about. I'm like, is it, you know what I mean? But whatever, we good. Yeah. So dad, Maurice, is a former fighter. So I'm assuming the Mr. Williams in the hardware store, as he called him, Grandmaster, was the one that possibly trained him up. Talk to me about Compton Strong Style and that influence, and I guess that pro wrestling element that kind of influenced that fighting style and where that comes from.
No, that's yeah, no, of course, man, of course. And it's twofold. So a lot of the origin of black belts, like I know specifically for me, is that going into my own family history. Like my uncles and my dad were, kung fu fighting and had racked up championships and trophies down in Compton and like Long Beach for years. That's a huge thing. I know. I feel like we all know this, but like black dudes love anime, man,
Right.
and like, let's talk about it. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of us out here who love anime. It's in the culture. You know how many Goku references are mentioned in hip hop or rap.
Right.
And the generation before us isn't that different, man. Wu-Tang Clan. We're talking about the love and the
Yeah.
intersectionality of like, Asian culture and how that kind of affected, especially dudes on the West Coast. And just I know for me, for
Mhm.
my family, it's very intrinsic in who we are as martial arts. And my dad and my uncle were fighting in front of Jim Kelly and Chuck Norris when they were having tournaments in LA. And it's like that history as far as like classic black, Jim Kelly. I mean, for the audience, probably knows, but yeah, the dude with the afro and Enter the Dragon was a very famous, Hollywood
Mhm.
black martial arts legend, and he spent a lot of time in LA and even opened up his own space. And I think it was those stories that really inspired me to kind of get into black belts because it felt so familiar. Like I said, with the anime,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different, but like I grew up a big martial arts fan as well. Bruce Lee, fan of Ip Man all the way to uh,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, a lot of classics went into researching, but especially but another half of me is the wrestling. I love wrestling, and wrestling to me has always been a combat sport. It's like
Mhm.
from the dudes from Barnett's to RP to Inoki passed away. What was like months and what was like a few months ago
Just
or
a year ago, yeah.
a year ago, yeah,
About
yeah.
a year
So
ago, yeah.
Inoki, the originator of strong style in a way. I back to the Asian culture. Huge New
Mhm.
Japan fan, love New Japan. I was one of those marks during that phase of Bullet Club and Prince Balor and just
Okay.
Nakamura.
Tamatanga and all of
Oh,
that, yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely. And I think that had a big effect, but just the idea of taking, your own, taking something that was original and then adding your own little sauce on it, I think
Yeah.
was a big part of it. And I just always love that. So when we're thinking about moves and coming up with what that technique would be for the film, it was like, what's like something else just like Compton Strong Style. And it was just like, yeah, like that's it. Like that's the move. That's
That's
where we're going. And it just had that feel to it that I think reminded me of just like old martial arts where there was like a technique that was just like, the standing crane,
right,
whatever, and
yeah.
then mixing that with the pro wrestling of it all too, and just a certain little Inoki in there.
There's definitely some really dope scenes in this project, in this film. I know the part where he goes to the store and he kind of gets into it with Trey's, like the antagonist in a sense of
Yeah.
the film. And Trey's like kind of testing him a little bit. He's like, oh,
Yep.
okay, okay. So you know the deadly arts. I didn't know your dad was the hood Dark Knight. He putting the sauce on it. So I'm like, oh, and like the dialogue was like true. You know what I mean? Like it felt
Yes, sir.
authentic. You know what I mean? It felt authentic. And then like when they get into it, and I don't want to give too much away, but like he definitely says a particular word that reminded me of a really famous scene in Snowfall.
Okay.
Uncle
Okay.
Jerome pulling off, you know what I'm saying, teacher man, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so I really enjoyed like some of the like just like the cinematography of it. Like what was it
Yeah.
like as like a day to day? Like were you on set day to day, just like working with the actors and the actresses, like trying to like really like put that this the visual of this together as the writer?
Yeah, well, you know, it's in Hollywood, especially when it comes to film, they always say that director is king in film and writers are king in TV. And Launchpad, I think, was a really good entry to learning like the studio system with like the studio. So shout out to our director, Spencer Glover. He did a phenomenal job. Spencer's also African American and Filipino American. So like there's also like a little bit of that kind of baked into the story when it comes to the culture. We're talking about like, you know, Asian American Pacific island culture.
Yeah.
He really, I think he really put his foot in it for sure. He got the assignment. We watched a bunch of stuff. We talked about references. I even took him down to Compton. My dad took him on a little tour down there. We did a little
Yeah.
day in Compton, you know, sort of vibe, and he was really receptive. And got to learn a lot about the city as well. You know, Tremaine, who plays Maurice, is a really dope actor who really brought a lot to, you know, the fatherhood character. Seth
Mhm.
Carr, who you've probably seen in Black Panther, is Lil
Yeah.
Killmonger. I think that was a big one for me more than anything. It's like I want people to watch this and, you know, feel
And
something,
Phil.
you know,
Yeah.
cry. And that boy, he taps in, I think, to something that really is just so emotionally gripping. Honey Robinson is Missy, and
Mhm.
Godric is Trey, bringing that humor, but you know that threatening kind of like, you know, we all kind
Yeah.
of familiar with that bully, you know, but it just has such a huge range. And they had like a multi-week training course with Joseph Lee, who's a fight choreographer. He's come up with some scenes from uh, uh oh man, it escapes me now. Shang-Chi, yeah, Shang-Chi. He did a lot of
Okay.
work on Shang-Chi as well, but just a team effort. I mean, at the time, I was in the middle of having my first child during the beginning parts of production. So I was on set for about like a day or so and was able to kind of see everything. I will say it's a little wild to walk on the set and then walk into something that looks pretty close to your childhood bedroom. I don't know if I'll ever write anything that
Yeah.
close again. I was like, ooh, just maybe got a little too close to the, you know, got a little too real and true.
Yeah.
But it's a surreal experience, especially because I know from my story, it's very personal to just the history of like Compton and my family. And yeah, man, it was a really interesting process. Really dope, really supportive. Um, my mentors are from Pixar. Our producer Philip and Michael Guyton were like really in the trenches as much as possible, trying to, you know,
Mhm.
work on all the films as well. So it was a really dope experience.
I'd like to ask you what you remember, if you'd like to share, about the day that you started writing this project and the day that you felt like the project was complete.
Wow, that's interesting. That's like a really interesting question too. Because I have an answer for that second part because I feel like people are not gonna like the second part answer because of just
Yeah.
the nature of how TV and film work. But
Mhm.
for the first one, like I had already been kind of circling around it, like and just I think like I was saying before, just having family and being like big old Dragon Ball Z Naruto nerds with my little
Uh-huh.
brother and talking about like, oh, like I kind of want to see like martial arts and like black people, like why are we, you know, I got love Boondocks, you know, shout out to Aaron Magruder adding that like anime element to
Amazing.
the Boondocks, like that was, you know, one of my, you know, favorite shows. So I think I was circling around doing something. I just when I write, I know that I'm supposed to be writing something because like I'm just like obsessed. I'm researching it. I'm
Mhm.
watching
Okay.
film of it. I'm watching, you know, YouTube clips. I'm reading journal, and for this one, it was just something that kept like nagging at me. And it wasn't until talking with my little brother, I was like, wait a minute, what? And he was like, oh, you don't know that like dad or our Uncle Donnie like fought in front of like Jim Kelly or whatever. And then then I'm on the phone with my dad. My dad like, well, that's not quite how I remember it. And then
Yeah.
he goes to tell the story about fighting against Jim Kelly's student. And I was like, whoa, what is this is amazing. So I think it was that time I was like, oh, I need to write this. And
You really unlock
luckily
something in that.
yeah, really, really let something go on me where I was like, it was something where I was passionate, and then it just that personal tie just I think kind of nudged me in that direction and
Okay.
brought the story to Launchpad, and they dug it. Our mentor selected us, and then they started the development process from there.
That
Oh,
is
and then
great. And then
the
what do you
second part of
remember
it,
about what do you remember about the day that
it's
you
never
were
done.
finished?
It's never
Yeah.
done.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
literally to the point that it's
Yeah.
like you're seeing it on screen and it is like like uploaded on screen theater. Like
Mhm.
that is the final moment where it is done. I remember writing notes until like pretty much the finish line plus some, and then even during the edit, like them going back to notes that I'm like, oh, I'll put that like weeks and weeks ago, but now can we figure out? And it's just the movie process. It's like it's never done
Okay.
until it feels quite right. And I know as a writer, there's just so much that you can still contribute to during that. I mean, obviously, the writer strike just ended, which is amazing. And being a WGA member, so I was like in my late 20s. It's been like
Yeah.
something that you're always trying to like let people know. It's like the writing process is incredibly important for production, for budgeting, for creating that foundation of story and character that you really need to get things going. And you hope you do a well enough job creating that foundation, because once it's out of your hands, it is out of your hands. It's
Yeah, I feel you on
you
that.
got
Is
to
that
let it go.
that perfectionist aspect of it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, just really nitpicking at like little moments, like, okay, well, how can we improve this? How can I improve that? What can I have done better? Or how can they
Yeah.
say this or da da da? I feel you. I completely understand. Like being a podcaster and creating content, like I 100%. I feel the same way about some of the stuff that we put out. I'll just be like, man, if I could have that little moment back on this episode, or if I would have clipped this, this way in this promotional clip or whatever, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you mentioned the strike. I want to ask, did rather did the strike and that whole situation like delay or affect the release of this project at all, like the whole Launchpad thing that they were doing? Like, was this maybe slated for like earlier in the year and this kind of like got pushed back maybe a month or so? What was that like? Did that,
Well,
you
it's
know?
interesting you say that. I mean, I think a lot of things changed during the strike, and I think one where Disney just like wanted to really make sure that they weren't, doing anything that kind of like encroached upon the strike. For us, we were doing a lot of festivals and submissions, but we adjusted that when the strike happened. Because a lot of the short film process as well is like getting it out there for distribution and getting it out there so people can see it and to get into Oscar qualifying short films. So I think that kind of adjusted those more limited like festival releases. But as far as it coming out, I mean, to me, it was like perfect timing. I mean, it's like literally days after the strike was
Yeah,
tentatively signed. It was just like fantastic. I mean, I couldn't have timed it better. Like, I don't know how it works internally, but it worked out great. We had
for
done like
sure, right.
interviews and all of that stuff already beforehand. So it was kind of nice to know that it was coming out right around the time where it's like great. Like people can see something that I worked on. Fantastic. It's out. Like the homies can check it out. The families in the group chat talking about like, oh, what's up, cuz? Like you are it was really nice to come out of that, especially for I think it was 148 days of just hitting the
Phew.
pavement and then making things work, and writers trying to survive during a very confusing and can seem pretty like daunting time.
From everything that I've seen, all accounts, it seems like, writers and, it seems like they got a pretty good deal. It seems like, WGA
Yeah,
came out pretty good. So I'm
yeah,
super
no,
excited for that, especially for, future creators and, people like yourself that are like really putting pen to pad and like really coming up with like some dope elements and dope stories that like people really need to see, you know, like this is something that like you said, something that a lot of us are like really close to as far as like story wise, like we can really like understand excuse me, like understand. And like this like really like encapsulated like it felt like some of like
Wow.
my relationship with my dad even, you know what I'm saying? I'm like just seeing like KJ and Maurice, like just how they interacted, and like how like there's like one moment where he's like just chilling drawing in his room, and then dad knocks on the door and he's like, all right, let me get tough. All right, cool, you can come in now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So but like just there's just like really special scenes in this project, like even like when they like actually like finally get that moment where he's like, all right, you want to train, let's train, you know. And it's like just,
Yeah.
man, like you almost got me. It almost
Yeah,
got me,
no,
you
look,
know.
that's the point, man. Look, that was the point. Look, I want all the black boys, all the young black men,
Yeah,
all the dads out there to watch it and see themselves, to be able to like be like allow that sensitivity and that empathy to come through. Like that
yeah.
part to me meant more than everything. We were writing it. I was like, you know, it can look cool, it can have these moments, but the moment of a father and a son being able to like realize like, hey, there's been a lot of stuff going on around us. We're not in control of it. It is hard, it is difficult, but being able to drop some of the, you know, the bravado, drop some of that, you know, hyper masculinity, which we didn't get, you know, we didn't get taught. There wasn't like an actual, there wasn't a tool that we received as youth in order to have that relationship necessarily with a lot of our fathers. You know, like I said, I'm a new dad. Being a new girl dad, like a lot of my homies, it's a whole different thing than it used to be. Like my homies are some of the best dads in the world. And I think a lot of that comes from maybe growing up and maybe not having those experiences and deciding for ourselves that that's what we wanted to be on by this time. But that's the whole part of the piece. I would say that was the anchor, even talking to Pixar, even with Spencer early on. We're just like, this moment is what we are anchoring a whole story around. It's like that father and son being able to break down all of that stuff and just be able to like hug each other and like talk.
Finding the way to talk to each other, you know, like because we all communicate differently, and it's like as father and a son, it's like like they both have their own like different experiences, you know what I mean? Like him being a young child and just like really just going through things, and like he's probably seen these things like tenfold, but it's like, how do I convey this message to my son in a way for him to understand it? You know what I mean? And you
Exactly.
said like your uncle is named Donnie, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so still throwing in that extra sauce of those family elements, like making it personal to you,
yeah.
like that makes it even more personal to me as a viewer. You know what I mean? And like as a viewer, I'm like surprised and shocked how you guys were able to pack so much into 20 minutes. Like this is a 20-minute short film.
Yeah,
Everybody that's watching this, y'all should go check that out. You feel me? Disney Plus, you already got your subscription, you pay for it, it's on your phone. Just go ahead,
yep.
tap into that, watch Black Belts. It's 20 minutes and it's just so much emotion and story packed into this little tiny
So,
like time frame. And it's kudos to you guys for being able to do that, because like again, as a viewer, I've watched it about 4 times now, and I'm just like, bro, like this
wow.
is this is a great project. I really enjoyed it. I checked out some of the other ones too. You know what I mean? But like they
Oh, incredible.
whatever they're doing over there with Launchpad, and just giving these opportunities, it seems fruitful, and I'm really enjoying the content. So I hope that they keep that going. I hope that you get more opportunities like this to continue to tell your story and tell stories like this, things that we can all relate to. This was a really great project. What was it like? For you going to the premiere, and like, you know, being
Oh
around
man.
like the whole group and the team of people that helped really put this project together, and you know, just all just watching the end result on screen.
Man, special. I mean,
Yeah,
genuinely special. You know, and like, you know, like once again, just shout out to Launchpad and all the filmmakers and the people who put it on, and Rise as well. I think that they went above and beyond to help young filmmakers who were, you know, coming from really diverse backgrounds get a little taste, you know, get a feel for what that will eventually feel like to us, in the future going forth. I mean, I'm one of the biggest memories for me during the process. There's been a bunch of them. I mean, there's been a lot of dream come true moments, but we did a premiere starting out with everybody from Launchpad for the premiere of Turning Red, the Pixar film down
Mhm.
at El Capitan in Hollywood, which was not too far off from where I was. I was a Hollywood bouncer. That was like my side hustle while I was interning in writers' rooms for like Netflix for Hemlock Grove, and I was working at this place called the Science Entertainment Exchange, and I was literally not too far across the street. And I think it was one of those moments where you on the step and repeat in the red carpet, and you seeing certain like creators, and you're talking to certain heads of a studio that you're like, this is what I was sitting there being like, bro, this gonna be me, bro. Like, and I'm looking across, and I'm like, wow, like I'm really here. But we had a specific premiere not too long ago for all the films over on Disney Lot, and same, just feeling the support. The group of filmmakers this year, like I think they're all incredible people, humans. Like some of my favorite filmmakers, but definitely some of my favorite humans I've come to like know and hang out with and collab with during this entire process as well. But that was another one where we got to see the giant poster of your
Yeah.
film, just like chilling. People could take pictures in front of it, and seeing all the individuals. Yep, that's exactly. Yeah, man, cheesing because you're like, wow, this is they put marketing. You can see the
Yeah.
the design, the art. They had composers. They had such a big collaborative thing. So just want to. I'm just very appreciative to the Launchpad and Disney for putting these things together because they definitely didn't they didn't take any half steps. They really put a lot of like effort and resources into making us feel like, all right, like get used to this sort of like environment and vibe. Like this is how it's going to be. And watching the film with everybody, and then we watched all of the films during the screening. It,
Oh, yeah.
it was amazing. I was sitting there with my dad actually, which was kind of like a full circle moment where he's from Compton, but I know I feel like artists talk about it all the time, like Compton and Hollywood, ain't nothing but like really like 15 miles away, but it might as well be 100. It's
Hundreds of miles away, different worlds, completely, 180-degree
completely.
turn. Like it's yeah. Is that who's this guy?
Yeah, no, that is my dad. No, that is
Yeah.
that is pops. Yeah, I feel like that's a little where I get the bug. My mom and dad, like he was LEPD for like 20 plus years, Compton, shooting Newton, did some stuff in I think some Vice work. Like he was but he in his free time always had a camera in everybody's face, always was shooting stuff. He used to shoot for Tommy the Clown back in the day when I would go to
Word.
like some of the battles and everything. Like he just was the video man. He loved editing and all of that, and I used to watch him as a kid be in this little editing suite, and all of that was kind of like I think that's where I got some of the bug from. And my mom, even in her, my mom's like a social work, and now she's director of diversity for a huge space, and she's got all these awards and everything. But in her free time, she would always on Sunday be directing our church broadcasts out to like TBN and like running cameras. So I was kind of just always chilling with them. So, but at least for my dad specifically, just knowing where we had kind of come from, it was amazing to like take him to Disney. He had never been to a premiere before. He's like, okay, like what do I wear? Is like, do I need to bring money? I'm like, no, it's like it's a premiere. Like
It's like it's good.
yeah, they got you covered. There's gonna be an open bar. Like there's a whole like but being able to have that moment with him, I think was
Yeah.
full circle for him to see our family kind of represented on screen was at least for me, back to kind of that moment in Black Belts. It was another moment. I feel like
Yeah.
that was another growth moment for us too.
Yeah. Is that just being able to be like that, like all you gotta do is just show up and enjoy yourself.
You
That's
know what
you
I'm
know,
saying?
that's it. That's a
you
that's a
know,
good feeling to have, you know what I mean? To be able to give back to your parents in such a way,
man,
you know what I mean? So kudos to you once again. Like I can't say enough about it. Like I really enjoyed watching this. I've shared it with a bunch of my friends and told
appreciate
them
it,
to
man.
check it out, brother. Like
Appreciate it.
my man, like let me tell you, this is a great project, and I'm excited to see more from you. I'm excited to see more coming down the pipeline and what you got in the works. But hey, Black Belts on Disney Plus. Salute to Launchpad and all the short film collection and all the series that they have on there. Amazing projects. Black Belts is definitely what you need to check out. Like I said, it's in your phone already. Make
Yes,
sure you just
sir.
go ahead, hit that play button. You feel me? Anything you'd like to say before we get up out of here? I would like to say I really appreciate you for just taking out the time to chat with me about this project. This was really dope.
Man, I appreciate you, brother, especially all the kind words and all of that. But this platform to me, I know as a black wrestling fan, like I've
Yeah.
always rocked. Like I think it's I think you speak specifically to me and I like my like internal culture and fandom. So I really appreciate that, man. That's really great to hear. But yeah, no, please check out Black Belts. Check out the other Launchpad films as well. You can check me out on Instagram, Darkskin Champagne Poppy, all one word. Sorry, Disney, you just have to deal with that for press. I apologize. I also do music in my free time. Eat More Apples. I'm streaming on all the platforms. That's like my other side hustle, which is somehow folded into my writing, which has been amazing of the experience. Yeah, follow me, reach out. I'm incredibly, reachable when it comes to this art stuff. I, love talking to the people. I think it's a big part of it. So, but I'm just grateful. And yeah, man, thank you for having me on.